after the shot went up, the like ball boy who was like corralling the balls grabbed it, and my son was wearing a Larry Bird jersey, and he ran over and gave it to him. So could be a total lie. Could absolutely be a complete con. But I don't care.
The Larry Bird ball from the shootout, the famous walk-off shot.
Yeah.
You have it on your shelf here, and that's the certification, the authentication that you have.
Yeah, the authentication is thin, to say the least, but I didn't care because as far as I'm concerned, like no one else is ever going to say, yeah, this is the ball and that's not the ball. So as far as I'm concerned, I have the ball, but it is obviously it's from that All-Star game. It has the it looks like the same ball. So if I got conned, I got conned. I don't even care at this point.
I just like the idea that this ball boy grabbed this piece of history and said, "You child, here."
Listen, in the mid to late 80s, no one cared. You know what I mean? It wasn't like today. It would a representative from Fanatics would have rushed onto the court and put a QR code on it and scanned it. But back then, nobody cared. That's why that stuff is now, it's hard to authenticate, but it's also valuable because it's it was handed out to random people and then they threw it in a closet for 15 years and then dug it out when the craze started.
It's funny when I did the whole story about the guy in Miami that was selling black market stolen authenticated memorabilia. I got one of the guys I was talking to was walking me through all this deep in the memorabilia game, and he's telling me that they've reached a point now where if you say this jersey was game worn and you say it was from this game, they can, using AI, get film and photographs of that game and then match the stitching on the jersey to the stitching on the jersey in the game, because it, as mass produced as it may feel like, it's not. There are idiosyncrasies in every single piece of paraphernalia that separates them from the same jersey from a different game or one that was just produced for sale and all that. And that blew me away.
If they're using AI, it's accurate too.
Yeah. I had a post. I went into X today and saw that there was a news story on the right panel that said that Doc Rivers was limiting Cam Whitmore's minutes on the Bucks.
You know what? I accept it. I think he can do that.
Casey Holdall from the Blazers responded, technically he is limiting the minutes.
Not wrong.
0 minutes. Yeah. He's played 0 minutes for the Bucks.
Severely limited, yeah.
Incredible. Yeah, AI. I was with you, Amin, until you're like, they use AI. And then I was like, I don't know if that's going to work.
What you see now is photos. They just call it photo matching, and there's photos of the thing that's for sale, and then a photo from that game, and there will be 28 individual things circled with a red circle that match the little flaw in the the C coming up, the little or the serif in a letter matches the thing, and so it's not, that is an AI. That's just a guy with a jeweler's loop looking through the photo and looking at the jersey for sale or whatever, but it makes you feel better, at least. This is just a letter from a guy who was I was there and I got the ball.
I swear to God. Guy comes up to my kid. Kid had a jersey on. He said, "Here, take the ball, kid."
My kid
says, "No, I couldn't take it." He said, "No, take the ball, kid." No, take the ball. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll take the ball.
The story is not suspicious. I don't think the story is suspicious. Whether this guy, he might have just grabbed a different ball and then said it was that ball. That's also possible. But I don't find the story suspicious that a ball boy is just "Here, kid, have this, go home." That's the way the world worked 40 years ago. It's not the way it works now. I was at a Dodger game last year. Every single ball that comes off the field is rolled to a ball boy. They now bring it to a guy who's sitting with a giant sack of baseballs, and they peel a code off and they put it on the ball, and then they record what it was, foul ball, this pitcher, that guy, second inning, whatever. And they just go into a giant sack because now they sell them. MLB sells all that stuff on their website. You can buy game used ball, fourth inning, foul ball, this hitter, whatever. So, and it's smart because they used to just toss them into the crowd, and instead now they're there's money here, and so they're making money.
So are those days over of the foul ball?
No, they do it they do it at the end of the inning. When the last out's recorded, first baseman jogging in, he'll lob the ball over the net, And obviously if a foul ball goes into the stands, you can keep it. But now any ball that comes out of the game is like put into like the Fanatics bag.
I don't think Schrodinger would like all this logging and data of the foul ball, because I think the beauty of the ball behind you, Mike, is that you want to believe that's Larry's ball.
This is a souvenir of faith is what this is.
And if it was written like somebody else in the 3-point contest, they missed this shot.
Yeah.
By some
Detlef Schrempf brick in round one.
It's not as exciting.
No.
What if I told you it is from that contest and Larry Bird did shoot it, but it was not the last ball that he shot?
I mean, it would still be valuable to me. You know, like that's a great moment. When I was a kid and the Celtics were the only thing I had to hold on to and Bird was the guy, I watched that 3-point contest and thrilled to the sight of him raising his finger in victory before the ball went through the hoop. So like you tell me that's a Larry Bird 3 from that 3-point contest or even a miss, I still love that it's on my shelf. You know what I mean? Like the fact that it's the ball is obviously better, but you know,
I mean, it was a ball touched by basketball Jesus at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know?
Like I grew up in Hartford, and the Celtics used to play 2 games a year at the Hartford Civic Center, and those are the only professional sporting events I was able to see. The Whalers left when I was a kid, and like we get to Fenway maybe once a year, but so you know the Parrish, McHale, DJ, Bird Celtics were like this is all I had, and so that era is very meaningful to me. I also have a Cedric Maxwell signed jersey somewhere. I don't even know where.
The cornbread, that's a good one.
Cornbread, yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now you've got a means attention.
Finals MVP there.
Yeah, I know. Stole one from those much more famous players. Hall of Famer?
Not a Hall of Famer. He's the only one career
There's
ended.
two. There's
two without a finals MVP.
Yes. It's the Tom's Trivia. Who's the other finals MVP?
Not in yet, right?
He's not going to be in. It's Iguodala.
It's Iguodala.
He's not.
Well, I mean, yeah, okay.
He's retired, Tom. I know you were like, he's still playing.
Is he even eligible yet, though? He's not eligible yet.
That's what I'm saying
eligible.
Is like that have come and gone. The eligibility has come and gone, and they were not elected into Hall of Fame. Iguodala, I wrote a story that he should be in the Hall of Fame. Considering his international play, finals MVP, All-Star, championships.
What international play?
Steve Kerr told me he was the greatest amplifier he's had on his teams. Greatest amplifier since Pippen.
He can go into the amplifiers wing of the Hall of Fame, man.
Yes. Right there with Pearl Jam's amplifier and who other amplifiers of note in history.
Right there with Hugo Gonzalez.
Wait. We're not doing the Hugo Gonzalez campaign today. We are launching a historic campaign that I think people are secretly agreeing with us, but we are the only ones with the actual gumption to come out and say that. Look, I think we all need to admit that Payton Pritchard is going to be all NBA this season.
Or should be all NBA.
I love this so much.
Now, before anyone loses their top, right? It's based on several things. Number one is because of this ridiculous 65 game rule, which I will remind everybody I was against from the very beginning, as everyone else patted the NBA on their back about it. But because of it, we have a large number of players who are severely in jeopardy of not making it. Mm-hmm. And so everyone focuses on, Donovan Mitchell's going to be first team All-NBA. That's not the problem. You know, those guys that were second team that move up to first, that's fine. And those guys who are third team that move up to second, that's fine as well. But there are going to be a bunch of guys who are not All-NBA players who are going to move up as a result of these disqualifications. And when you look amongst all the eligible guys, at that point, Payton Pritchard, not that crazy a pull, right? He's having a phenomenal year.
Face is just so ear to ear. His smile. Yeah. I've never seen a grin just so devilishly wide as what Mike is right now.
I was wondering what his son looked like when he got the Hugo Gonzalez jersey. Now I know it's that face right there.
Yeah, I mean, look. They've played 61 games. He's played in 60 of them. He's almost hit the threshold already, right? Mm-hmm. Anytime Jaylen Brown sits or White sits, which is also very rare, he's running the whole team. Like he's running a team. He's even running that team when those guys are playing sometimes. He is, by some metrics, the best ISO scorer in the NBA. That was the stat that flew around a week ago. Was it? It wasn't you, Tom, was it? Who put that out there?
It was probably Payton Pritchard's agent, but I don't know.
It might have been me in like a fugue state. I might have run those numbers. 1.30 points per ISO possession was the stat, which was just above like Shea at 128 or something, I want to say. Best isolation scorer in the league per possession. The team is 41-20, and they're going to probably end up a 2 seed, which does matter in things like all NBA voting. I think like in the same way that MVPs don't come from 4, 5, 6 seeds. And the team has surpassed all possible expectations for what most people wrote them off entirely. It was a gap year. They started 0-3. Okay, whatever. Maybe they'll get maybe they'll get Boozer in the lottery. And they're now like a legitimate contender to make the finals. They're not going to win probably, but they're going to make it. They're going to have a good chance to make at least the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the actual finals. So you put all those things together, like this guy has been running that team and has become a legitimate scoring threat against any other team. It's not like, okay, when the second units are in, let Pritchard go crazy, or it's garbage time, he's going to get 25 points. He now just scores. He just scores all the time. He does not turn the ball over. His assist to turnover ratio is incredible. I haven't checked in a while, but it was 5 or something, right? What is it now?
Well, I will tell you this. In clutch situations this season, Payton Pritchard has 6 assists and 0 turnovers. No player in the NBA has more assists without a turnover in clutch situations than your guy, Payton Pritchard. And I would also say that Payton Pritchard is 12th in win shares. Okay, so on basketballreference.com, he's 12th in win shares. So that is a cumulative rating, meaning not only is he good, but he's playing a lot of minutes. And so win shares rewards people who play a lot of minutes. And all NBA with this 65 game rule, he's floating to the top. And for your information, Mike, you are not off. Payton Pritchard, according to Sport Radar, is averaging 1.23 points per isolation among the 40 players with at least 100 ISO plays this year. He ranks numero uno in the league, and it's not even close. Norman Powell is at 1.19. Payton Pritchard's at 1.23. And after that is SGA. So SGA is third. So the reigning MVP is looking up at this halo around Payton Pritchard, who is 12th in win shares, number 1 in ISOs, and another game in which Jaylen Brown doesn't play. 7 games this season. The Celtics are 6-1. And who is the leading scorer, Mike?
I'm going to say it's Payton Pritchard.
Payton Pritchard, 25.
Every night, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander goes home and he just grinds tape of Payton Pritchard and is like, that's aspirational for him. Like, how do I get this guy's bag?
Yeah. It's going to take a lot of hours in the gym. And
it really is.
I think when you look at
to his credit, like, he is a maniacal gym rat, and the stories are, I was watching Grant Williams on with Jeff Teague, and they were talking about this dude, him and Jason Tatum. They love playing one-on-one. They love playing one-on-one. Whenever the practice is over, they're like trying to recruit guys to play one-on-one with them at all times. And so Payton Pritchard, I mean, it all fits. It all dovetails nicely with what we're talking about. By the way, assist to turnover ratio of 4.2. So that's really good.
Look, this doesn't count for all NBA voting. None of the stuff I'm about to say counts. But he's like 6 feet tall. He's my height, basically. He makes $7 million a year. I will bet you that every other player who's going to make all 3 all-NBA teams makes more money than he does by a significant amount, except for maybe... for now. But he's got 2 more years on the deal after this one. It's like one of the greatest contracts in the modern NBA in the last 10 years. It's one of the greatest contracts. But that thing you just said, so I understand that doesn't count. You don't take it bargain level into account. But the thing you just said is the key to him and his play. The Celtics have identified a market inefficiency, and the market inefficiency is like psychopathy. It's like lunatics. Like they were like, if we just stock our team full of lunatics who care so much more and try so much harder and like just outwork the other team, we will win games. The reason they're 41-20 is their head coach is lunatic, and he has molded this team in his image. And when you watch Pritchard play and you hear stories about him, every story is like, man, that dude cares so much about basketball. He works so hard and practices so hard, and it's all he thinks about, and it's all he does. And the same is true. They have these guys like Baylor Shireman is starting games for them right now. I think maybe in preparation for, he's basically, you know, like in football, when you have like in the weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, if there's like a running quarterback, there's like a Lamar Jackson type, the other team will get a guy on their practice squad to imitate him. Yeah, the scout team guy who will imitate his movements and stuff. I think Shireman is basically doing that for Jason Tatum right now, to like, because Tatum is going to slide into that slot. But you watch Shireman. I watched the game last night, second night of a back-to-back, got into Milwaukee at 2:30 in the morning, blew Milwaukee out of the water, who had a 30-point lead in the fourth quarter. And in that game, Shireman, who's very young, like made a really bad play. He had the ball. He made a terrible pass, and Milwaukee had a fast break the other way. Shireman ran full tilt. They had like a 28-point lead. Shireman ran as hard as he could, busted his ass, got all the way back, and there was an attempt on an entry pass on the break, and he tipped it out of bounds. And that's all of these guys. That's what Pritchard does, and that's what Ugo does. And this entire team is full of these maniacs who are just redlining. They're at 9,000 RPM all the time. All of that like Pritchard was there first. Pritchard has set that tone, and I can imagine the practice sessions where it's like, if you don't play as hard as him, you're not going to get minutes. And he has 100% in Tatum's absence, and after getting rid of Drew and getting rid of Porzingis and all these guys that were supposed to be the leaders of the team, like Jaylen Brown's the leader of the team, and right behind him, the Tom Sizemore to his Tom Hanks is Payton Pritchard. And it's been amazing to watch, because there's a lot of, I remember a lot of early days where he would, like, you heard this stuff about him grinding and working hard, and he couldn't crack the lineup. And he at one point demanded a trade and said to Brad Stevens, like, trade me, play me or trade me. And Brad Stevens was like, it's okay, don't worry, we're going to get you on the court. And then he eventually did. And it's like the ultimate story of just like, if you work your ass off, you make the team, and you become a leader. It's awesome.
What do you, Mike, what do you attribute to the fact that when Payton Pritchard and Jaylen Brown are on the floor, the Boston Celtics net rating is like a solid +5, meaning they outscore opponents by 5 points every 100 possessions. And this graphic went around Databaller with no E at the end.com, which has kind of gone viral, because what Payton Pritchard's numbers are when he's playing without Jaylen Brown is astounding. Is when he's on the floor, no Jaylen Brown, the Celtics are +13.5.
Yeah.
So what? And then when Jaylen Brown's playing without Payton Pritchard, that 13.5 goes down to +6.5. And so Databaller literally had to put out like a tweet being like, hey, we need to pad these numbers. Like, we're going to implement a new measure that pads the numbers so it regresses to the mean, because it can't possibly be that you say, hey, the Celtics are 13 points better than the opponent when Payton Pritchard is playing without Jaylen Brown. So they said, we're going to add like average number of like plus minus for whatever, like 300 minutes to pad it down, to regress it to the mean. And after they did this, it still showed that Payton Pritchard minutes are still way better than solo Jaylen Brown minutes. So what do you make of that as our resident Boston Celtics expert here? Why are the Celtics so much better when Payton Pritchard's on the floor? And it can't just be just bench units, right? It can't be just he's terrorizing bench units, right?
No. Look, some of the on-off stats I'm suspicious of always, because you see like their plus minus is X. But it doesn't take into account what the other team has done when certain guys have subbed out, right? So if the Celtics are playing the healthy Bucks and Jaylen Brown sits down, the Bucks maybe sit Giannis because they're like, all right, their best scorer is off and also, it's exhausting to be guarded by Jaylen Brown because he's a very good defender. So we're going to go double big here or whatever. Like the number of variables. I mean, you said this a long time ago. I think about it all the time, that basketball is a game that presents very simply and is very complicated. I think that's really true. And when you try to boil it down to just plus minus on court, off court numbers, there are 73 variables that come with when Payton Pritchard is on the court and when he's off the court. So I don't usually put a lot of faith in that. You can, game by game, it's kind of fun to look at because you have this feeling watching a game that a guy has made a huge difference, and you check the plus minus and it's like, wow, they're plus 11 in the first half with him or whatever.
Sure.
Over the course of the year, it's an attempt to isolate something very basic in 82 different circumstances, times 3 or whatever, depending on how many times the guy subbed out, that have so many other variables. I tend not to think of that as that meaningful by itself. But however, what I would say, that's why ISO stats is like, how many points does the guy score when he's going one-on-one, right? But in this case, what I would say is when Jaylen is on the court, especially this year, he is always option number one. He is the guy who's like there. You see the action that happens above between the half court line and the top of the key. That action is always to move guys around, set screens, and get him isolated on the guy he wants to be isolated on. And then he goes into his bag and figures out what shot he wants. And he's been very good this year at hitting 2-point shots. And so that has worked for them. And when he's off the court, what you have is 5 psychopaths on the court at any given moment who are, again, redlining, max efforting all the time. But in that case, Pritchard is the guy who is the number one option almost always. Now, when Anthony Simons was on the team, he was a number one option pretty frequently, and he did a lot of offensive stuff by himself. But now when Jaylen is off the court, it's basically Pritchard and sometimes Derek White. But generally speaking, the guy who's like alphaing the offense is Payton Pritchard. And the other 4 guys are like flying around the court and crashing into people and setting crazy screens and running weird like flare screens and like disappearing into, they're not like standing in the corner. There's a lot of movement. The team plays with the slowest pace in basketball. Yeah. And it's because they just are like, how do we manipulate the defense in exactly the way we want it to give us the best chance to score? And then Pritchard is the best ISO scorer in basketball, so his plus minus goes up. So I don't think it's like that. When the thing that went around when those numbers came out was a classic misread of data, which is the Celtics are better when Jaylen Brown doesn't play, which is obviously patently absurd and which doesn't take into any account his defense, and he's guarding the best guy on the other team and he's scoring a ton. But it does, I think, show what happens when you leave 5 psychopaths on the court at the same time and have them all like trying as hard as they can in a regular season game against the Wizards in January, which is not the case for the rest of the NBA. When the playoffs come, I think you're going to see a different story because everyone is going to be redlining all the time. And also some of those guys like, Shireman played 32 minutes the other night. How many is he going to play in round 1 against Toronto or Philadelphia? 6 maybe. So everything's going to change. But the joy of this as a fan of regular season basketball, which I am, is watching a team that cares a whole lot about regular season basketball. And I think that's what that number speaks to,
Mike, one of the things that our friends over at the Libertard Show have talked about is when Jason Tatum comes back, he's going to ruin it all. All this good feeling, all these good vibes. You described this offense of everyone flying around and flare screens and backdoor cuts and all that. So it all goes away. Jason Tatum brings it to a grinding halt. What is your expectation for how the Celtics will look when Tatum comes back?
Well, first of all, what do they do down there? Do they raise a play-in tournament banner every year for the Heat? Like, do they have like 9 straight play-in tournament banners up at the Kaseya Center.
They are unequivocally the greatest play-in team of all time.
It is remarkable. Like, it's as if they're competing really hard to get into the play-in. That's what it looks like. Because every time they win 2 in a row, they lose 2 in a row. Yeah. And then every time they lose one, they win the next day. They're just, they're firmly dedicated to being 2 games above 500. And I applaud them. Look, again, this team does not play with a ton of pace. In fact, they play with the least pace. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know what grind it to a halt means when you're already you've already slowed the game down as much as any team in the association. Well,
I think grind to a halt meaning not in terms of, we're running up and down.
The chemistry or whatever.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I don't worry about that personally. Again, I think they've started tinkering with their matchups and lineups game by game to have the ability to slot Tatum into certain roles that certain guys have. I think the reason they traded Simons and got Vucevic was in part so that they could move their other wings into essentially a Tatum-esque position. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to slot into that. Now, he is also a guy who likes to do things that no one on the team currently does. He posts up a lot more than anyone. They might have gotten Vucevic to practice some of that because Vucevic does post up. They have guys occasionally standing in the corner, and it's possible that they're going to say to Tatum, hey, to take some of the stress off of your ankle, why don't you play this role where instead of being in constant motion in the action that happens at the top, why don't we move you into a Klay Thompson kind of a role where you stand in the corner and then we set a screen and you come around to the wing and take a 3 or something that's a little bit less like constant stress on your lower body. I don't have no idea. But the thing is, I just trust the management of the team at this point. I trust Mazzulla. I trust Brad Stevens. I trust Tatum to know how he's going to do this and how he's going to fit in. And realistically, what is he playing when he comes back? 16 minutes a game? Like,
I'd be shocked if it's anything more than that.
Yeah. And so you play 16 minutes a game and Shireman's minutes and some of, Ugo's minutes or some of, I don't know, like those guys dip down a little bit and he comes up. I can't imagine that they're a worse team because they have Jason Tatum in their lineup 16 minutes a night. I worry more about the playoffs because, again, everything changes in the playoffs. Everyone's trying hard. Everyone's going to do what Lou Dort did to Jokic the other night and just start knocking him around and trying to get him off his game. And, he's my favorite player. I fear for his physical safety and I fear for the chemistry of the team when he comes back a little bit. But I just this is a real trust the process thing for me. I just feel like, I don't know. I can't imagine they're not going to be psyched to have him in the lineup.
It's not even that. Like, for me, it's like, I was trying to explain this on the show. I got shouted down. I said, guys, you guys act like the guy who's come back from one of the most devastating injuries in basketball is going to come back and be like, hey, rock. Like, he's going to be playing like 16 minutes a night. Like, by default, he knows I can't do the things that I'm usually capable of doing. So I've got to just blend into what they're doing. And it's this idea that, because I've heard a bunch of people, I won't just put on the Meadowlark people. I've heard a lot of people just question. I'm like, what do you guys think? Do you think the guy comes in like, all right, vacation's over, assholes? Like, it's my time again.
WWKBD. What would Kobe Bryant do?
That's the thing.
That's why I think he's coming back so soon. Because do you guys see this? So I started doing the research on it, and Kobe got injured. He ruptured his Achilles like the last regular season game of the season. So it was
literally writing a story about this right now. Yeah.
Are you? All right. Oh, sorry.
So go ahead. I want to hear this. You can. I'll have the co-byline on this one.
Sure. And then he's back on the floor like 8 months later. So that puts him like mid-November. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, he came back December 8th.
Yep.
And I think the 8 there was a reason for that. Yeah.
There you go. So there's a part of this that's absolutely like, oh, okay. Like my hero did this. I've got to do it too. The only difference is his hero then saddled his franchise with an awful contract that eliminated them from doing anything for the next few years. Meanwhile, Tatum already has his in hand, so he doesn't have to worry about that.
What are you talking about? Get out of here. He's on his contract's perfectly fine for a player of his caliber.
It is if he's that caliber.
But this is the key, though. Honestly, this is the key to this whole thing. This is not Kobe. It's not James Harden. It's not a guy who complains when his usage rate ticks down by 1/3%. He has the reason they won the title in 24 and the reason that they haven't had to blow up this team, Shaq and Kobe style, is because he's a very chill dude. He's he's so complimentary of Jaylen Brown and always has been, refers to him as my brother constantly, is fine sharing the spotlight, isn't like he's not a look at me kind of guy. If he were, you'd be like, uh-oh, what happens when he comes back? But he's not. And so is he going to destroy the chemistry of the team? No, I think it's much more likely that the team is psyched that he's there, that he knows he's playing 16 minutes a night. He plays them as well as he can. And he's the ultimate team guy. It's like there aren't that many of stars in the league traditionally that you would not be worried about. Guys at his level, first team All-NBA guys, like there aren't that many Steph Currys who go out and recruit Kevin Durant to come to their team. But Tatum is one of those guys. And so that part of it, the ego part of it, I do not worry about at all.
Let me ask you this. We're campaigning here for Payton Pritchard All-NBA. We spent almost zero time talking about Derek White. And I want to know where he is on your hierarchy of favorite Boston players in this season.
Maybe I made a mistake. When you're talking about Pritchard making third team All-NBA, I assume it's a given that White is
an MVP.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Derek White, 3.
Derek White. So my buddy Shea Serrano, who you guys all know, when the Celtics traded for him, he texted me immediately and was like, "You're gonna love this guy. He is so great. You're gonna love rooting for him. He's gonna totally change your team." And I was like, "Really?" Like I didn't know anything about him. And he was like, "I promise you." And every time Derek White has a big game, Shea, who hates the Celtics, texts me like so happy for Derek White, like still to this day. I have to say, he was more right than he could have possibly known. There aren't that many Celtics in my entire lifetime that I enjoy watching on a nightly basis more than Derek White. He is does more. It's the little Pritchard-esque. He does more with less than almost anyone in the league. He's 6'4", maybe 6'5". How tall is he?
He's 6'5", right?
6'5".
He's got good size.
Has more blocks than most 7-footers in the league. Like an absolutely outrageous defensive player, and specifically a shot blocker. Blocks 3-pointers, blocks layups, chase down blocks. Like gets his hands on every ball cleanly. Like is not a natural point guard, but has been forced into that role and does it incredibly well. Is having, by his standards of last year and the year before, an off shooting year. Like not a great shooting year at all. And many, many games, it's a 5 for 14, 2 of 9 from 3 kind of a game. And yet I am never more confident than when he is in the game and has the ball. And he's amazing.
He's one of the great player development stories in like the last 40 years or whatever, because this was a guy, the scouting reports were written in stone. Let him shoot. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like he's awful at it.
Yeah.
And he managed to change his scouting report, not to just, all right, pay attention, to holy shit, don't leave him alone. He's a great shooter. Not just this isn't Jason Kidd becoming a 37.5% three-point shooter late in his career. This is a guy who's on the scouting report for his shooting. Yeah. And even though, as you said, I think this year is more a function of like, all right, his usage, his possessions has gone way up. So it's like, we got to just volume this thing out. And they love volume in Boston, obviously, when it comes to three-point shooting. But in general, just to change the belief about you as a player like that, I can't remember too many guys who have been that stark of a player development story arc.
Yeah. The only thing more shocking is when Andre Drummond takes corner threes and drills them. Like that's
that's one where it's the scouting board is still like, okay,
we'll live with that.
Yeah.
I just feel like he's one of those guys that you have to have on your team if you're a serious title contender, which is a guy where from the moment he checks in to the moment he comes out, he makes like 210 consecutive correct decisions on the basketball court. Like, he's not out of position. He gets back on defense. When he makes a mistake or if he makes a bad pass, he is hauling his ass back on defense. He has an incredible skill, which I think Simmons has talked about a little on his podcast. No one in the world has ever been better at breaking up 2-on-1 fast breaks than Derek White. No one.
He's a great transition.
Danny Green and him. It's
incredible. Like, the team that is on the fast break is at a severe disadvantage when he's the guy who's backpedaling. Wemby did that thing the other night where he, on a pick and roll, where he guarded both guys. He guarded the shot and the roller at the same time, which is so funny to watch. Like, no one's ever been able to do that at once, and he does it without even jumping or moving. But Derek White has an equally amazing skill, which is he knows exactly what they're going to do before they do it. It's like drive or pass. And he breaks it up every time. I don't think I've ever seen a 2-on-1 score on him. I'm sure I have, but I cannot remember it. And I can remember the 58 times that I've watched him disrupt a 2-on-1.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of I had a streak of like legit, maybe like 7 months of whenever I would go to the airport and there's 2 lines for TSA. After you got, scanned your thing or whatever, and you're just putting your bag to the conveyor belt.
Yeah.
Like, I could, it was crazy. I was like almost on the most unbelievable heater where I'm like, it's this one. This is the fast one. And some of it was like, there's data behind, like, do they have old people in this line? Are there babies? Right. Are there wheelchairs? Whatever. But sometimes they're just like, there's 5 people in this line, 5 people in this line, and they all look kind of the same. I got a feeling that this line is better.
See, I think about this with like highway driving is just like I'm in the correct lane that is going to be the fastest lane through this traffic. But I know that you don't think that way because you're the most impatient driver I have ever seen in my life. I mean, you're never like, this is the correct lane because you're just mad at the guy in front of you. Constantly.
I'm not in, like, if it was basketball, I wouldn't even be in the G League of impatient drivers. That's erroneous what you're talking about. But the difference between my example, your example is, much like in a 2-on-1, in my example, once you make that decision, you've kind of commit, right? You can't change your mind a million times like you can when you're driving. Right. You're driving, I can be like, oh, this lane. Oh, no, never mind, this lane. I can do that the whole way. But like in a TSA line, once you pick your line, you're kind of much stuck there, right? Yep. You can't, they won't let you like, oh, second thought, I'm over here. And the same thing is like, once you actually commit in a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 to that first pass or to that pass fake or to commit it to the ball, wherever it is, unless you're Wemby, it's impossible to then recover back at an NBA level and still make a play.
I just like that you have a super low stakes Neo from the Matrix skill, which is
it's low stakes until you travel a lot, Mr. Schur. And then at that point,
you don't know Kung Fu. You know which of the TSA lines to get into.
That's right.
Derek White, I believe last year ended the year top 20 in block shots. He's a 6 foot 5 inch tall guard, and he was top 20 in he had more blocks than a bunch of centers. And if you look at the positions, if you sort it by position, it's just center, forward, center, forward, point guard.
Well, they just came out the other day. He has the most blocks by a player 6'6" or under in a season since Dwayne Wade, who we all know is like the greatest at it. And we still, like you said, we still got 20 games to go. So he's still got a ways to go to add on to that.
Okay, so to recap, Derek White, second team All NBA. You guys are on record as saying that.
Well, I said all defensive team, but
Payton Pritchard, third team All NBA. Maybe heading to second if a bunch of guys miss more time.
Wow. Yes. All right. You want the rundown here? Because I got it.
Hit me.
All right. 3 players are going to be eliminated. We got Giannis, Steph, Markkanen are already disqualified.
Okay.
Then you've got 5 players who are on pace to be disqualified, meaning the percentage of games that they've played, if you prorate it to 82 games, it is under the 65 game mark. Jokic, Wemby, Avdia, Kawhi, and Devin Booker. If you look at the first team last year, you had SGA, Mitchell, Tatum out, Giannis out, Jokic not on pace. So 3 of the 5 are out in the first team last year. If you want to go to the second team, you got Jalen Brunson, Steph out, Anthony Edwards, LeBron out, Mobley on the verge of being out.
So that's another 2.5 right there,
and might not make it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Even if he
hasn't had a phenomenal year. Yes.
Yeah. Not the year yet. Not the narrative, at least, of last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
And what about third team?
You can move those two guys, Brunson and Ant, into the first team just as an exercise.
Sure.
And then the third team last year was Tyrese Halliburton out. Jalen Williams out. Cade Cunningham in, James Harden in, and then Karl Anthony Towns. 7 players are going to be eligible, and 2 are about to be DQ'd of last year's All-NBA team.
Wow.
So that means that we're possibly getting as many as 8 open spots for All-NBA.
Okay, so
guys, and that's not really, I mean, Jaylen Brown's going to be in there because he wasn't All-NBA last year.
Maxey was in there or was not in there anywhere?
Was not in there last year.
So Maxey's in.
Yeah.
Who else is an obvious no-brainer?
Wemby, depending on games.
Right.
Luka, depending on games.
Right. Who else? Who are we missing?
Jalen Duren is in the mix.
Jalen Duren. Cade goes to first team in all likelihood, or is the last guy out and first guy in second team. There's no way that any of the rookies make it, right? There's no way Kon Knueppel or Cooper Flag is making it.
No. Kevin Durant. Maybe.
Yeah, Durant takes the LeBron slot, kind of, right? Of like the late 30s veteran who has a great year.
Jamal Murray.
Sengun.
Jalen Johnson.
Scotty
Barnes.
Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes versus Payton Pritchard. Heads up. Who you got?
Who has more win shares?
Who has more points in isolation? That's what I thought. End of discussion.
I mean, it would be pretty wild if a guy who did not come close to making the All-Star team somehow made All-NBA. I mean, but again, it's the rule, right?
That's well, and also, first of all, it's the rule, and also it's not unheard of. Darren Williams did it in the early 2000s. Goran Dragic did it more recently, where he wasn't an All-Star, but he was All-NBA. And a lot of that is because being an All-Star is all about like, hey, were you really good in the first 2 months of the season?
Right.
Versus good, because there are players like Andrew Wiggins a few years ago who was an All-Star, and then as soon as he made the All-Star game, it was like, all right, my work here is done. So it's not unheard of, but the rule definitely, you want an amplifier. You want to put something in the Amplifier Hall of Fame? This dumbass rule amplifies that effect.
I mean, Jokic is going to play all the rest of the games and make it, I think.
I think he runs into Lou Dort again.
I think that Denver as an organization, and he, even though he pretends not to care about this stuff, everyone does at some level. And I feel like unless they lock in their seed with 4 games left and he decides to sit out 2 of them to stay healthy, whatever. But if there's anything to play for, he's playing. So you have to assume that Jokic makes it. I think he can miss one more game, right? But still make it. He has one absence from school left on his right?
Yeah, but yeah, I think the way we're thinking about it is a little skewed, because we're thinking about it in terms of like PTO. I've got hours, I've got days to kill. I got to kill this PTO. And my thing is, no, we're not talking about PTO. We're talking about sick days.
Yeah,
a sprained ankle. That's not counting, as you said, Mace, getting into it with an agitator.
Yeah, a suspension would get him out as well.
So, believe me, when I was watching that game, that's the first thing I thought about. I was like, "Ooh, if he gets suspended, this is good."
Yeah.
You're a sick man.
What? I didn't even know about the Payton Pritchard plan.
But then I saw the way he was his eyes burning, and I was like, "Oh, if he murders someone, that's bad, because then he'll go to prison."
One of his brothers will take the fall. We don't have to worry about that. But I love seeing that crazy eyes. I saved that photo on my phone. I'm going to go back to that at certain points of my life and look at Crazy Joker.
The number of people I texted in that moment of like, "Are you watching this? Are you watching this?" Look, I don't think it's going to happen, but it's wild to consider, given that, like, again, this is a guy who played very, very limited minutes for like 4 years and was like best known before this year to casual fans as hitting 2 buzzer beater threes at the end of quarters in the finals. There is because of the rule, not because he's actually one of the 15 best players, but because of the rule, there is a legitimate chance.
I do like the idea of Payton Pritchard being the one who breaks the rule. And then saying, Payton Pritchard is 13-man All-NBA, we got to end this right now.
We have to change something,
Mike, I talked about this last week. We were here with the All-Star vote, right? The reason why we have the current All-Star voting system is because we came this close to Zaza Pachulia starting an All-Star game. And the league was like, all right, enough with this internet voting. We've got to do something.
You know, not to get too nerdy on you guys, but when Bill James invented win shares in baseball, he just played around with numbers and tinkered and tinkered and tinkered. And people would ask him, and then he came up with this system, and people would ask him, like, how do you know this formula is good? And his answer was basically, because when I use this formula and I get the like league leaders in win shares, it pretty much checks out with like the best players in the game. And so that is like it's a little bit of circular reasoning, but it also is an indicator that you're kind of onto something, and then you refine and refine and refine. And the point being that, like, if this rule ends up with Payton Pritchard making All-NBA, I think the league will have no choice but to go like, well, wait a second. We're trying to figure out who the 15 best players in basketball are. And Payton Pritchard, as much as I love him, is not one of the 15 best players in basketball. So I would imagine that they would consider that, if that did end up happening, consider it to be a sign that maybe they need to change the formula and make it, 60 games instead of 65 or whatever.
Yeah, he's one of the 15 best players who played 65 games.
Yeah, and that's not the point of All-NBA. It was always a pretty stringent rule, and I think this year, combination of Jokic's injury, Jokic never got hurt, and then suddenly he missed a month. And, obviously Tatum and Halliburton, these guys who haven't played at all. And then you go, the point of the rule was to prevent unnecessary rest. Mm-hmm. And that's not what has ended up happening. Mike
Schur, when you're not Hugo Gonzalez, what if you're the commissioner of the NBA and you've seen all of the discussions about how to fix the NBA, and you saw what baseball did with the pitch clock and all the other sort of little tweaks to the system that had, maybe you disagree, but larger positive benefit than people surmised. Is there anything that you watch the NBA and you're like, they just got to do this one thing, press this one button, and then all of this bullshit in the air will just vanish? Is there anything magical button that you see?
I am very much on team turn wins into losses after the All-Star break or whatever, in order to prevent tanking. That for a very long time has been my personal feeling, is like all of the other stuff that they're considering to prevent tanking seems like a half measure. I don't think it's going to work. The incentive is too strong to lose. And it's like when you've created a situation where the incentive is to lose, the only way to change it is to reverse the incentive and make the incentive to win. And people start counting wins as losses after the All-Star break, or whenever, March 1st or whatever, last 20 games, whatever you want to do. That's the only way to make to stop the tanking epidemic, which I think is the part. I know that's like the hot topic now, but it's also, to me, as a big regular season NBA fan, the only thing that I really don't like about the league. Like, you look at these games when you're in playoff positioning, and let's just say, as one random example, you're rooting very hard against the Miami Heat. Let's just say, just as one example, off the court,
hypothetical. Yeah.
And you see that the Miami Heat are, and by the way, in this same hypothetical example, you suddenly love the Charlotte Hornets and are super into the Hornets and watch a lot of Hornets games.
I was gonna ask, what's your? You always have a side project.
The Hornets are amazing. Yeah. They're so fun, and so this theoretical person is rooting for the Hornets to overtake the Heat in the standings, and then you see, the Heat are playing Brooklyn, and you're just like, all right, well, that's another win. And then you can look at their schedule hypothetically and count, like, there's 8 games that they have in the last 20 against teams that are not actively trying to win. And it just sucks. Like, and again, I know that people don't care as much about regular season NBA as they should, in my opinion. But if you do care about it, what you want to see on any given night is competition. You want, like, I kind of weirdly loved it when Michael Porter Jr. went bananas and beat the Celtics by himself a few months ago. Like, that was cool because it was like, this is what makes this sport great, is that guys can just get hot and have flames coming out of their head like an NBA 2K and start lighting up the court. And it's really fun when you see one of those games. So that is the only thing that I would do. And I think everything, I know that they're like having serious meetings and Adam Silver's talking about doing X and Y and Z. The only thing that will work is if you just say to the teams, your chances for getting the draft choices you want improve when you win starting now. Then suddenly Jaren Jackson Jr. is playing and Markkanen is playing and whoever, like these guys that you want to see play are playing. That's the only way to do it. And aside from that, everything else I think is, deck chairs on the Titanic.
Mike, those guys are seriously hurt.
Nah. Are they?
You see, Nurkic had the nose surgery, man. It's been bothering him for years.
Yeah.
Who was it? Was it Jaren Jackson where he was traded and then immediately was announced that he had an injury that no one had heard of? It was, right? Yeah.
He played 2 games, Jaren Jackson did, and then they announced an injury that was not found in the physical for when he was traded.
Yeah. He heard it on the plane on the way.
Lauri Markkanen hurt his ankle in practice, got an MRI, and then they found something in his hip.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that does happen.
The ankle's fine, though.
The ankle's fine.
Like this, like you want to talk about all NBA, like Lauri Markkanen could have been all NBA this year, right? In theory, like, and then but because they are, trying to get AJ DeBonsa, they're like, well, actually, instead of being an all NBA level player, he's not going to play ever again for this entire season. That sucks. As a fan, that just sucks. And I know the league talks about it in the context of you've paid to see these guys, you've gone to the game. Like, okay, that's 12 to 15,000 people a night. There's millions of people who watch games on TV. We also want to see those guys play. And that's the only thing that, the rest of it, I'm sure there's things here and there that if I really thought about it, but all you want is competition. And when you don't have competition, your enjoyment decreases significantly.
Did the pitch clock do as well for baseball as people think it did? Or is that just a myth? The pitch clock is incredible. Like, it is a revelation, both in the in-stadium experience of watching a baseball game and at home. And this point was made by many people when they were debating it. But the phenomenon that baseball games were 3.5 to 4 hours long was a recent phenomenon. They used to be 2 hours long, and then they were 2.5 hours long, and they just crept up and crept up and crept up. And the more pitching changes you made, and the more pinch hitters, and the more defensive replacements, whatever, the game being this as long as it had gotten on average was a new thing. It was a last 25 years thing. So you put the pitch clock back on. You install the pitch clock, and then suddenly the games are back to where they were in like the 70s and 80s when people loved baseball. And I think it's worked better than anyone could have imagined. Mike, it's one of my favorite baseball stories ever written. Is Grant Bisbee, I think for SB Nation, took 2 games, one from 1984 and one recently, the same exact score, the same exact game length, and looked at how much time duration was. Like, it was a 9-inning game, same score, same number of batters. And it was a perfect control group of like, okay, so if it was the same score, all right, here it is. April 13th, 1984, the Mets played the Cubs at Wrigley Field. The home team won 11-2. Both teams combined to throw 270 pitches. Both teams combined to allow 27 base runners and 74 batters came to plate. There was actually exactly one mid-inning pitching change. He found the same exact game in April 17th, 2014, so 30 years apart. The game from 1984 lasted 2.5 hours, and the game that played in 2014 lasted 3 hours and 6 minutes. And his job was to figure out where did those 35 minutes go?
Right.
Like, how does everything line up except one is 35 minutes longer than the other? And he found, a lot of it was just pitchers taking so damn long to getting back to the mound, to kicking some mud around, and then figuring out the signs.
Calling
and
the
that was
catcher
it.
out, having a conference, going,
35 minutes of just dead air.
Yeah.
With the same exact game.
Yeah. I mean, it was remarkable what happened to the viewing experience of baseball when the pitch clock showed up and the other rules, right? You can only throw over to first twice. You can only have a certain number of mound visits per game, all that stuff. Suddenly the experience of watching game became about watching the game itself and not the long lulls of, they had to put up nets from home plate all the way to the foul lines, essentially because the games had gotten so boring and so slow and everyone had a phone that no one in the stadium was watching the game. They were looking at their phones and people were getting hit by foul balls. That's a problem. And
people were dying.
Baseball had a serious fan problem. And amazingly, because they never do anything in that sport, they decided to fix it and it worked. And basketball now has I would say an equally serious fan problem, which isn't that the in-game experience is boring, that the play itself is boring. It's that the play itself isn't of a high quality because half of the teams are trying actively not to compete. And if they don't do something dramatic and drastic soon, you're just going to lose a whole bunch of people. And I will say in baseball, audience back up, attendance back up. You can reverse these trends with fans, but not if you don't do anything.
So what you're saying is there should be a 75 game rule that Payton Pritchard would become the MVP. Yeah. And that will solve the problem, right? Logically.
What if you tier it? What if you make an 8, first team All-NBA 80 games, second team All-NBA 75, third team 70?
Now we're talking. So it's going to be DeMar DeRozan and Payton Pritchard are the only. It's a two player first team.
Yeah, and then it'll be like a Payton Pritchard 3-time MVP winner, back to back to back. It'll be
what an era of basketball.
The debate will be Kareem or Pritchard. Who you got? Who's the greatest of all time?
So when you're looking at the awards this year, and I know you're not an individual award guy, besides Payton Pritchard for All NBA, which one do you feel best about? MVP Jaylen Brown, Coach of the Year Joe Mazzulla, third team Payton Pritchard, because you can't have them all, right? Otherwise, the Celtics would be a 70-win team if all of these things were true.
First of all, why can't I have them all? A. I will say that I think Mazzulla should be heavily considered as Coach of the Year, given everything. If you look at it's obviously not apples to apples. Two teams lost their best player in the playoffs last year. One of them has the worst record in basketball, and one of them is 41-20 and a 2 seed. Again, not apples to apples. The Pacers did a lot of other stuff. But to be fair, the Celtics also got rid of 3/5 of their rotation, of their starting rotation, and are 41-20. I would say Derek White as making one of the all-defensive teams, I would say if he doesn't, it's a crime. I'm now fully on board since you emailed me about this, the Pritchard 13 All-NBA train. I'm riding that train pretty hard. I don't think, Jaylen, I think there's probably 5 guys better than Jaylen MVP-wise this year. He has been so great and so fun to watch as a fan. I think he should be minimum second team All-NBA for real. And there's a case to be made for first. But if Cade carries that team into the 1 seed, as it seems like he's going to, he's been so great. I don't see how I don't think there's room on the first team. You could argue it and you wouldn't be wrong per se, but I think the other arguments for other guys are stronger. So I would say Jaylen second team, Derek White second team all defense or third team all defense, and then Payton Pritchard third team all NBA and Missoula Coach of the Year. That's what I'm.
And I know you're.
Kata,
it's like
Kata, most improved player.
And Ugo second team.
No, but this is like picking between your favorite kids because Kon Knueppel on the Hornets.
Yeah. Well, you and I talked about this a month ago. We were both on the Kon Knueppel's the Rookie of the Year. How do you feel now after another month?
Oh yeah, totally validated.
Okay.
I mean, Cooper Flagg's been hurt with his foot sprain, and so it's been widening the gap that Kon Knueppel's going to run away.
Set the rookie record for threes in like 59 games.
Yeah.
Dude, let me tell you the funniest. So he's on pace, I think, to make about 284 threes this year.
God.
And so 10-Day Tony actually asked, wait a second, if this guy's doing this, like, could he conceivably catch Curry one day?
Yeah.
And so we did the math. And if Curry stopped playing today, like he's done, I'm walking away, I'm never doing this again, Kon Knueppel would have to have 15 years of making at least 284 threes a year. And so then we said, all right, well, I mean, conceivable. So then we looked up who are the guys who have made, how many times has someone made 284 threes? And I want to say it was like 16 times, maybe 16 to 20 times it's happened ever.
Right.
8 of them are Steph Curry. And then the only other player who has multiple seasons of 284 plus threes made is James Harden. He's got 2.
Mm-hmm. So and Knueppel needs 15 in a row.
He needs 15 or 15, like assuming his career is about 15 years. Like obviously he plays longer. It doesn't need to be 284 or whatever. But just to put it in perspective, how much I find myself thinking about that nowadays. Like, what's the most unbreakable career record? Is it that, or is it Stockton assists? Because the Stockton assists one,
it's LeBron.
The scoring? No, I can see the scoring. I could see the scoring happening.
I think it's LeBron consecutive all NBA teams is probably because
depending on how the rules go.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna have to deal with the 65-game rule.
Yeah.
So nice.
There's a famous moment in baseball history of, I think it was Nolan Ryan's 5,000th strikeout. Only guy ever to get there. And he was interviewed after the game and they were like, what's it going to take for someone to break your record? 5,000 strikeouts. And he said something like, well, it's going to take a lot of innings pitched and a lot of strikeouts per innings pitched.
That's I mean, he's accurate. Much like the AI that told us that Doc Rivers is limiting Cam Whitmore's minutes. Like, yeah, you're right. You know,
it's so funny because I just did the title tiers and I had Miami as like a 1-star tier and the Hornets not on there. And I'm sorry, I haven't adjusted that, Mike.
You also had Denver as a 4-star tier, but you gave them 5 stars.
Ooh,
last week.
The one that just came out yesterday.
I was saying, like, I have them in the 4-star tier, and then I say like last week they were a 5-star team, or maybe I screwed that up. It's a one-man operation, and I don't know what I'm doing half the time. But my point is, someone got mad at me, and they're like, "How could you not have the Charlotte Hornets on your title tiers and the Miami Heat?" And I think it might be the guy on this call. But I was thinking to myself, we have people angry that the Charlotte Hornets aren't listed as a title contender this season when they're not even 500 yet. Yeah, as good as they've been, they're still a game under 500, and people are angry I'm not having them on the title tiers, which I think speaks to how awesome this run has been, that even as good, they've been the best team for 2.5 months in the NBA, and they're still a game under 500.
Well, to be fair, they have like a top 5 point differential in the East. Like I think they're definitely above Miami. They're above everyone else in that in the whatever that fake division is that they're in. And I think they're better. They're better than the Sixers.
I think it's called the play-in division.
Yeah.
They're better than the Sixers. I'm looking it up now. They're better than the Sixers. They're better than the Raptors. Like they're +3. They're scoring 116 and giving up 113. Like, so that points the way toward I think if you probably look at like whatever playoff odds on some gambling website, they're probably better odds to make the playoffs than the Hawks are, or
Here's
whatever.
A great question. Are they the best losing team ever? Right? They have to be. They have to be the best.
Hold on. How about that Miami Heat team with Dion Waiters? They went like 32-50. What is it? 30-10 in the last 40 games?
Whatever the answer is, it's going to be the Heat. Whatever the answer is, like who's the best team that actually sucked, it's going to be the Heat.
Who's the best mid team?
Yeah.
The most mid team ever is Miami, like 7 times. Let's see. Yeah, I'm keep talking. I'm going to look this up. Is which team had the best point differential for having a losing record? And I've got to imagine.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. How do you have a good point differential.
You got to lose a bunch of close games and
blow out a bunch of teams and win.
Lose a bunch of blowouts and win a bunch of close games. Yeah,
do the opposite of what the Lakers are doing right now.
Yeah.
That's another good question would be, who's the best, like, whatever league or conference winner who had the lowest point differential.
Okay, I got it.
Oh,
right.
Okay. The Charlotte Hornets are second all time for the largest margin of victory for a team that is not 500. Okay. The best team ever in margin of victory for a team that was not a winning team was the 1958-59 Syracuse Nationals.
Sure, yeah.
How could you forget?
Dolph Schayes?
This was Dolph Schayes, Larry Costello, Red Kerr. Is he related?
Johnny Red Kerr. Well, he's not related to Steve Kerr, but he was a longtime color analyst for the Bulls.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Ed Conlon, George Yardley, Al Bianchi, Hal Greer.
Al Bianchi, that's my guy, man. R.I.P. Al Bianchi.
That's
he used
your
to work
guy?
for the Suns. He used to work for the Suns, like Al Bianchi and Dick Van Arsdale. They were like the retired front office guys, so they just come to games. It was like the Odd Couple. They would just show up and get popcorn and crack jokes and be grumpy old men, and then leave.
Sounds great.
This is my favorite stat because of course Amin knows a bunch of these guys on this 1958 team.
Is Ed Conlon Marty Conlon's father? That's the first thing I thought about there. No, different spelling.
But also, you're right, Tom. That means the Hornets are the best losing team ever.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Do you think they want to stay as a losing team? Like, I think that's a great notoriety. Is that like we are the best under 500 team ever? But if they become one game over 500, then they're just another team, right?
They want to win, if that's what you're asking.
I don't know, Tom. Why don't you run it upstairs to the new front office and say, like, you guys could be the best losing team ever. You guys want to keep it under 500? That's so good.
I think they would. 2014 Minnesota Timberwolves were 40-42 under Rick Adelman. That was the Kevin Love.
That was the best year of his career prior to getting to Cleveland. Yeah,
26-12 and 4.5. That's a ridiculous season. Yeah,
I will say, as much as I love them, their schedule for the rest of the year is kind of tough. They only play, by my count, 7 games against teams that are obviously tanking. They're also at Boston, at San Antonio. They've got the Knicks twice. They've got Philly, Boston. They've got they're at Minnesota. They got Detroit. Like this run was against some weaker competition, and I worry a little bit about my beloved Charlotte Hornets that they're not going to finish as strong as they have been playing recently. But we'll see. I mean, starting on the 21st of January or 22nd of January, they won they were like 16-3 or something, or 15-3.
Well, the thing is, if there was no play-in tournament, they wouldn't be in the playoffs right now. So all of this, credit to Adam Silver for the play-in tournament that we can get excited about the Charlotte Hornets without feeling like, oh, we're not going to get to see them in the playoffs or give them a chance to be in the playoffs.
Well, Evan Wash, right? Like, and because the whole thing is, it's not even just that we're not going to get to see them in the playoffs. It's that Charlotte's incentives would have been, all right, pack it in. Because we're so far out, then there's no point. Whereas when you put the bar at 10, it keeps you engaged for just a little bit longer. And now once you're in there, you're like, shit, 8's in reach. Maybe even 6 is in reach.
Are you sure? Are you both sure that Kon Knueppel could not make third team All-NBA in a world where Payton Pritchard could? 19.3 points. 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 44% from 3, set the rookie 3 record. He's played in 60 games, and he averages almost a steal a game, not turning the ball over a ton.
This is a good point.
The psychology of voters.
Yeah.
They lean heavily on the winning teams.
But like, what if they keep this run up and they make the 7 seed and then win the 7-8 game?
So what if they ruin... What if they ruin Tom's plan of being the best bad team ever?
Yes.
What become an actual good team?
What if they decided that instead of attaining a meaningless statistic related to losing, they decide to try to win and actually end up in the 7 slot, or even go on a crazy run and get to 6 or whatever? Kon Knueppel, Payton Pritchard,
Yeah, he would be the first rookie All-NBA player since.
Ooh, that's a good question.
It hasn't happened in the 21st century.
Okay, Tim Duncan.
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
The sweatshirt finally comes into play.
All right, after Tim Duncan, who is that? Like
Shaquille O'Neal.
I should say before Tim Duncan.
Shaquille O'Neal.
No, incorrect.
Was not All-NBA?
Not All-NBA as a rookie.
Woof.
Okay, before Shaq. A few years
Grant
before
Hill.
Shaq.
Oh, before Shaq. Oh, David Robinson.
Correct. Man, you're good.
Yeah. Look, hey, man, like the further back we go, the easier it gets. It's like, you ask me like, there's a guy in 2019. Like, who got drafted in 2019? I have to like really do some heavy thinking.
Yeah, so it's MJ, Larry Bird, Walter Davis, Tim Duncan, David Robinson.
Walter Davis, the Greyhound.
Yeah. So it's not out of the question. And I think because Adam Silver's a Dookie, I don't think he's going to be like, oh, Kon Knueppel made All-NBA in his rookie season. We got to get rid of this. But Payton Pritchard?
Payton Pritchard gets the job done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Could Kon Knueppel be third-team All-NBA and not win Rookie of the Year?
Ooh.
Could they still just from the narrative just give it to Cooper Flag and then but Kon Knueppel? It's like, can you be the MVP of the NFL but not win Offensive Player of the Year? It's one of those stupid things.
Can you be Defensive Player of the Year and not make all defensive teams?
Yeah. That was the Marc Gasol year, right? Where LeBron was like, yo, I didn't win Defensive Player of the Year that year, but the guy I lost to wasn't even first team All-NBA. So all defense. So how does that make sense? And I'm like, that's actually a pretty good point.
Yeah.
That was Marc Gasol in 2013 or something?
I want to say that, yeah. See, that's like I told you, man. See, it gets hazy then. In 95, I could tell you exactly who won.
Ugo, is there anything else you would like to share your wisdom with the Illumination today?
I just am very, very grateful that you've given me the platform to speak into a microphone and have it recorded and broadcast for the world to hear that Payton Pritchard should be a third-team All-NBA player. This is a dream come true for me.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you here to proclaim. Yes.
If he doesn't, then Kon Knueppel should get his spot.
I kind of think now I'm looking at Knueppel. I kind of think Knueppel should get it instead.
We're going to send this to the Celtics, man. Now we got to cut that last part out.
Listen, don't tell them I said this. I don't want them thinking I've lost faith.